Hello, this is Hannibal Irizarry with Shot Chronicles. Today I'd like to discuss trigger control. Trigger control is the leading cause why people pull their shots off center of their target. What basically happens is the finger, a lot of people like to use the very tip of their finger to pull the trigger. What that does is it takes more muscles to be able to pull it, causing you to put a lot of extra strain, and especially if your gun has a heavy trigger pull. In the end, when you pull the trigger, you're going to push the gun to the left if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, you'll push it to the right. A lot of people like to use the very backhand, this middle section. Well, they wrap their finger all the way around the trigger guard. When they do that, well, not the trigger guard, the trigger. When they do that, they're forcing the gun to pull to the right. So if you're using left-handed, you can do the same thing, putting it right here, you'll pull the trigger to the left. So depending on whether you're right-handed or left-handed, it'll pull it to that direction. So what you want to do is use the ideal portion of the finger, which will be dead center, right in this pad. Not on the front, not behind, but right here. Now, I'll show you with two different types of handguns, a semi-automatic and a revolver, so you can see the difference. Basically, this here is a 1911 A1 made by Springfield Armory. It's already weapon checked. Make sure that it's good. So you can see there's no rounds in the magazine. The magazine's not even in the gun, and there's no bullets in the chamber. So this is a complete safe weapon. Okay, now, the way this gun works, it's in the holster this way. It's a single action gun, which means the only mission the trigger has is to drop the hammer. It doesn't do anything else except for drop it. It doesn't cock it, doesn't decock it, doesn't do it. All it does is drop the hammer. So the first thing one must do is, as they grab the gun, they have to disengage this part, which is the grip safety. How is that done? Well, when they grab the gun, the web of your hand, notice, has got the same shape as this part of the gun. This is the grip safety. So you have to grip it as high as you can in that webbing, just like that, so that when you close your hand, it will engage the grip safety. Now that's one safety. The second safety it has is the thumb safety. As you wrap your hand around the gun while it's still in the holster, as you're pulling it out, you flip it down, that disengages the safety. Once your sights are on target, you go ahead and point on it, you put your finger on the trigger. Once you line up your sights, you pull the trigger. The hammer drops. As you can see, it just dropped. Okay? On the recoil of the gun is going to cause the slide to go to the rear, which will eject the spent cartridge. When it goes forward, it'll chamber the next round into the chamber, and the hammer remains cocked, ready to fire again. Now, this is where I was telling you about people having problems. If you notice where I got my finger is dead center on the trigger, right here in the center of the pad, of my pad. The trigger is in the center of my finger pad. I don't have it all the way to the right like this. I don't have it all the way in like that. I have it dead center of the trigger pad. Now by doing that, all I have to do is pull the trigger and the gun goes bang. Now before we go that, let me step in a better position so you can see what I'm trying to demonstrate. So you can see I'm holding the gun, I pull the trigger, see the trigger, and you can see the hammer's on the rear. When I pull the trigger, the hammer drops. See, the hammer's now dropped. The gun has fired. The bullet has exited. The recoil will slide the slide to the rear. The recoil spring will bring it back forward. When it goes to the rear, it ejects the spent cartridge, and a brand new round gets chambered into the chamber, which is somewhere in here. Now the hammer is cocked and stays there until I re-engage the trigger. Now if you notice, I never once released the pressure on the trigger. So what I'm going to do now is re-engage the trigger. So how do I do that? I let go of the trigger just far enough for it to reset. You heard that click, and that's all the movement I needed. A lot of people do, especially novice, they'll let go of the trigger altogether. Well, now they have to re-engage this trigger back with the face of this finger back with the face of the trigger in the exact same spot before. It's going to be impossible for you to duplicate it. That's going to make minor differences in point of aim, point of impact. So when you fire the gun again, and it recoils, and you let go, and you fire the gun again, recoils, and you let go, you get ready to fire the gun again. You were constantly changing the relationship between your finger and the trigger, which will cause you to jerk the round to the left or to the right. The correct way to do it is to pull the trigger, allow the gun to recoil, back the trigger off just far enough for it to reset. You can hear it, and then pull the trigger again for the second shot. We'll do it one more time. It recoils, the hammer stays cocked, I still have the trigger pulled, I let go of it just enough, and there, that's all I have to move. You notice I never, at any time, did I release the trigger. So when I fire, I'm no longer having to make constant adjustments to correct the relationship between the trigger and the finger. As a result, I have a more consistent shot placement. Now, let's go with revolvers, because you're thinking, well, this is a semi-automatic. It's got a very short trigger pull. You can see it doesn't barely move. Well, with a revolver, this is the revolver. Let's check to make sure it's safe. As you can see, it's empty. There's no rounds in the chambers. So none of the chambers have bullets in it. So, here we go. With a revolver, it's the same thing. This is a double action revolver, which means every time I pull the trigger, the trigger does two functions. It cocks the hammer, see it cocking, and it fires. It cocks the hammer and fires. If it was a single action, I'd have to cock it manually and then fire. Cock it manually and then fire. Cock it manually and then fire. Notice this is a lot slower than this. So double action revolver is different from a single action revolver, because a single action you would have to cock it in order to fire it. So let's go to that firing thing I was telling you about. Again, my hand's getting tight because this is a heavy trigger pull. I take the center of this pad right there, not the tip, not the back side, and I place it right in the trigger, right there. So let me see, so you can see it. So you can see I have it right there. I don't take it with the very tip here. I don't ram my finger all the way in there like that. If I ram it all the way that way, it's going to pull the shot. It's going to pull the shot this way to the right. If I have it over here, it's going to push the shot to the left. So you want it dead center. Now when I go to fire this gun, as you can see, you get a nice firm grip. Once you're comfortable, you pull the trigger, let go just far enough to reset the action. There, you can hear it clicking, and you fire again. Now listen very closely. At no time did I let go, did I break contact with my finger with the trigger. A lot of guys shoot and they let go, shoot and they let go, shoot and they let go. That's going to cause you to throw your shots off target. Remember, just pull the trigger, release just far enough to reset the trigger, pull it, release just far enough, just far enough. That's the correct way to pull the trigger. Failure to do that will cause your trigger to push your rounds left and right instead of staying center. Now there are other factors that are going to cause you to move left and right is too. You're breathing, if you're wiggling, if you're not aiming correctly, the way you align your sights. But there's a lot going on when you're trying to fire a gun. Why complicate it further by releasing the trigger? Just back it off just far enough to engage the mechanism and then pull the trigger again. And that'll keep you more precise. This is Hannibal Irizarry with Shot Chronicles. Thank you for watching.